About a month ago, I reviewed Battlefield 5, and a lot of you in that video also wanted me to go back and review Battlefield 1. And I figured I might as well revisit as many Battlefield games as I can before 2042's release. But anyway, we're here to talk about Battlefield 1, a game that I'd say is very well respected by the Battlefield community. It's not the modern / near futuristic setting that fans loved in Battlefield 3 and 4, but it takes the World War I era and setting and puts a level of detail and immersion that no other game has reached before. Battlefield 1 is honestly the most immersive FPS shooter I've played, and it still holds up extremely well nearly 5 years later. So I'm going to talk about my thoughts and the current state of Battlefield 1 and what the player base is looking like with 2042 right around the corner. The campaign for this game has one of my favorite introductions of the series. It sets the tone for the campaign. You start off playing as all these different soldiers on the front lines. It's a very real representation of what these battles might have been like as these soldiers went into this expecting to die. And it really does a great job of capturing the horrors of war. It's such a cinematic and immersive opening and a perfect setup for the rest of the campaign. The campaign consists of 5 different war stories, excluding the intro, that all take place across different times of the war, following different characters. The stories are vaguely interesting, some of them are a lot more so than others. I particularly enjoyed the Clyde Blackburn and the Avanti Savoia war stories, which I'm sure I mispronounced. Some of these stories are quite memorable, some not, but I did enjoy the campaign overall. Each mission was different. In one you get to use a tank, another you use planes, in another you get to run around with a minigun and bulletproof armor. There's also a few stealth sections. There's some good mission variety, and overall it was a really solid campaign. It is really short, which is to be expected from a Battlefield campaign, but I'd say it's worth playing if you have Battlefield 1 or are considering getting it. I love the gunplay in Battlefield 1. It feels incredible. The guns feel and handle so well. The guns feel very real and authentic to the setting. They've got the ugly sights, crazy designs like having a magazine on the top of the weapon. All the guns have a super unique and distinct look in the game, which just adds to that World War I immersion. There's also a lot of visual recoil and muzzle flash. It looks great, makes it look more realistic, although it does make it hard to track enemies when shooting at them. Sniping is also extremely satisfying. I'd say kills in general feel really satisfying in this game. The sound effects, the animations, the gunplay, it makes getting kills feel really good. There was nothing more satisfying to me than landing a couple well-placed headshots with a sniper from a distance, and even small things like reload animations make the gunplay feel so clean. In terms of gun customization, you don't really have a ton of options. You usually only get the choice between a few scopes, but you can customize things like magnification on your sights, weapon skins, bayonets, and even for some weapons you can choose the direction of the weapon recoil. And I must say, I really like how they kept everything for the most part authentic to the World War I setting. This was a big part of the controversy in Battlefield 5, and how there were a lot of historical inaccuracies, flashy camos, prosthetics, face paints, etc. Even though Battlefield has never really been a heavily realistic series, it's definitely what they were going for in Battlefield 1. They wanted that more grounded, immersive feel, and I'm glad that they at least committed to that with the weapons, camos, uniforms, vehicles, and all that. You can tell they did their homework for this game. Now, as for the player base, Battlefield 1 still has a really active player base for the most part. On PC, I was finding conquest matches in a few seconds, around the same amount of time for operations and even frontlines as well. However, the other less popular game modes like Rush, War Pigeons, and TDM even were a lot harder to find games for. I couldn't find matches for most of those game modes, and if I did, it would only be a few players. Now, I'm sure depending on the time and day, you can find matches for those, but keep in mind, I am also on PC, so I'm sure the player base is much bigger on consoles right now, especially with all the 2042 hype. I do like how Battlefield 1 has a large variety and scales of game modes. You've got your huge, large-scale battles and conquest and operations. Then you've got a bunch of smaller, more firefight-focused game modes. Now, I think most people play Battlefield for the larger scale, 32 versus 32 stuff, which would explain why those modes always have the most players. But if you prefer those smaller 16 v 16 or even 8 versus 8, or if you just want a break from the larger scale stuff, Battlefield has got you covered on that as well. Each mode also has special units or vehicles specific to it, like the cavalry or flamethrowers. Using the cavalry is really fun. It may just be a little bit too strong in my opinion. I mean, there were several times where I just rushed an enemy flag and trampled like 6 guys, no problem. Not to mention you're given a really tanky amount of health, so the only way you're getting taken down is if you have a whole firing squad on you. Planes and tanks are still really fun to use as well. However, there is a pretty big learning curve with planes especially, so it's best to maybe practice with planes at least, because there are some really annoying people to fight in the sky. The tanks and planes do feel really strong, as I think they should, and they can really be the difference maker in a lot of games. However, they certainly have their fair share of counters. A group of assault class players can easily take down a tank, and an AA gun can easily take out a plane, so you're by no means invincible. So you still need to be smart and tactical even when you have the big guns. The standard Battlefield class system is in Battlefield 1 as well. There's assault, medic, support, and scout. Each class of course has its own strengths and weaknesses, and having a balance can be really important. A good medic can really make the difference in a lot of games, and each class has different variants and caliber weapons that are all effective against different ranges, which is why it's best to use the class that is most suited to your strengths. I personally played a lot of assault and medic, but again, the great thing about this class system is that it has something to fit everybody's playstyle. Even if you are the super annoying sniper who's prone 500 meters away. Who am I kidding though? Sometimes that was even me. Battlefield 1 does have supply crates, which we thankfully seem to be seeing a little less of these days. I don't think Battlefield 1 system is bad at all. It's all just cosmetics and parts for melee weapons mostly. The leveling system is also quite standard for Battlefields. You have a main level and then an individual rank for each class, in which you have to progress to unlock more weapons, which you then buy with war bonds, which is what you get for leveling up. It's actually quite a grind leveling up your classes though. Even after hours of gameplay, you may only rank up once or twice. That's just more incentive to keep playing so you can unlock the stronger weapons. I think it's also worth mentioning that I was playing the premium version of Battlefield 1, so I had all the DLCs and stuff. I found a few matches for it on Conquest, but everything else was pretty much empty on the other game modes. The maps in Battlefield 1 are so well designed. They each have some extremely impressive level of detail and are a big part of what makes Battlefield 1 such a grounded and immersive game. The destructive environments are of course a highlight in what Battlefield maps are known for, as the literal landscape and structure of the map changes as the battle rages on. However, unlike the destructive environments, the dynamic weather is something that cannot be controlled by the players. It just adds to the realism and immersion. I've probably already said immersion like 50 times in this video, but it's truly amazing how much detail they were able to put into this game and its maps. Conquest maps have that great, large, open warfare feel, and there's some great environmental variety as well. There's deserts, snowy mountains, valleys, vibrant fields and small towns, and trenches. Not to mention all of this paired with some of the best graphics you will see on an FPS. I'm honestly shocked this game is 5 years old because the graphics are so good. If you ask me, Call of Duty still hasn't caught up with Battlefield 1 in terms of visuals and its extreme attention to detail. I mean, your weapon gets dirty if you get in the mud, and then you can wash it off by stepping in water. Not many online first-person shooters have that amount of little details. Lighting, explosions, terrain, structures all look incredible and enhance that already fantastic atmosphere. And it has great performance as well. It's a very smooth game and pretty easy to run well on PC. Graphics and optimization are something DICE is very good at. I mean, it's the same deal with Battlefront 2. I don't know how they do it, but it's very impressive. Battlefield 1 to this day remains a fantastic online shooter. Its insane atmosphere and immersion gave me the chills on multiple occasions, and still the fact that it was released in 2016 is honestly mind-blowing to me, and just makes me even more excited for what DICE can do with Battlefield 2042. I feel like it was pretty obvious, but I really enjoy Battlefield 1, and it's definitely still worth playing in 2021. I'm sure even with 2042 out, Battlefield 1 will still have a solid player base. The game was built to last, and especially with the cheap prices it's available for now, it's a great deal. You can even go for EA Play and get all the Battlefield games for only like $5 a month. A pretty solid deal if you ask me. I may do a which game is better video for Battlefield 5 versus Battlefield 1. Let me know if you guys want to see that in the comments, and let me know which Battlefield game you want to see me review next. I'm trying to play as many as I can before 2042. If you want to check out my Battlefield 5 review, I'll leave a link in the description. Also, feel free to check out some of my other reviews. I have a whole playlist of like 60 plus videos or something crazy like that, and consider subscribing for more in the future. I also have a Discord, the link to that is in the description if you want to join. And other than that, thanks for watching everybody, and have a great rest of your day.